And one of the most difficult things, probably the most difficult thing in my life. Obviously I was a child, but dealing with suicide of my father, dealing with kind of breakdown, but hitting rock bottom at 23.
Why?
Because I love my daughter so much. When I felt like I was successful but something was missing, I looked at my clients, they were successful, there was something missing, and I looked at what's the theme, or what are the themes? And it was...
JP, your father took his life when you were only 13 years old. And I went through something very similar. I lost my mother to suicide when I was 11 years old. And that type of pain changes you. It also puts you through a whole type of whirlwind of emotions where maybe as a child you wonder what you did wrong, why that had to happen. How did that moment when you found out that your father passed away shape the rest of your life?
Wow, you've gone straight there.
Oh yeah.
First of all, I didn't know that. And talking about our similarities, wow, that's very similar. Because for a child at that age, all you want is your parents and to be loved by your parents. So what it did for me was it created what's called a shame existence bind, where you actually feel shame in existing because you don't feel good enough as a result of the evidence of your parent not even staying around. Essentially, your parent didn't choose you. They had a choice, and the choice wasn't you. And I had to deal with that for a very long time. I was broken, I was shy, I was brittle, easily bullied, and I had to work on myself for a long time, but it's the reason why I became the person that I became. Because I had to, as a result of not having someone believe in me, I had to believe in myself, and I had to build myself up. And I feel sorry for any child that loses a parent. You know, yes, to an accident or to disease is one thing, but when your parent chooses not you, that is one of the worst things a child can experience, because the worst thing a child can experience is abandonment, and that is a type of abandonment.
I definitely relate to that a whole lot. And I remember as a teenager going through life with this incredible anger at the world, but also not quite feeling enough. It took a lot of that suffering, negative self-talk, and a lot of pain until one day I decided that I wanted to get more out of life. Now, you grew up in Cape Town and you moved to the UK. Was that your pursuit of getting more out of life?
Absolutely. I had witnessed a lot of suffering growing up, and I also had observed that the most successful people in my city of Cape Town, in the grand scheme of things, weren't that successful. Like, let me give you an example. When I left high school, I started DJing, and the most well-known DJ, Nicky Lauder, DJed on weekends and worked in a record store. And I was like, if I'm going to be a DJ, I want to be a superstar. And I definitely don't want to have the life of suffering that I experienced. So I moved to the UK. I was lucky enough to get out of the country. At that stage in South Africa, post-apartheid, like if you could get out after school and you had a way to get out, like my grandfather was from the UK, that was my way out of the country. And it wasn't because I went, where will I go? Or where do I really want to move to? It was the UK was my only way out of the country. And that's just how it was. And I went there to create a better life for myself, to start again. But because I went alone, I got it wrong for a few years. I went on my own. I figured it out on my own. And many years later, now I know that trying to figure out life alone means that you're trying to figure it out wrong. You need to have people in your corner. You need to have support. You need to have coaches, accountability, community, etc. But I try to figure out on my own. And unfortunately, because of what happened with my father's suicide and then what followed and not feeling enough, I constantly needed external validation. So I became a DJ because I was passionate about music, but because I saw the external validation that a DJ got. And by the age of 23, after a few years in the UK, I had decision by decision got myself to a full-time position DJing Riga, Latvia, getting all the external validation in the world. And then after the DJ night on New Year's Eve, when I went back to my hotel at the Radisson in Riga, I felt more empty than I'd ever felt in my life. So I decided to go back to the UK and to go on a journey of what I didn't know back then was saying, you know what? I don't want to be validated on the outside anymore. I want to validate myself. And that's how I got into personal development. And the rest is history.
What makes you different from someone that would go through something similar and not acknowledge or lean into that emptiness that you felt that night and realize that there was a need for change?
Pain and perception, relatedness. I was 23 years old and I felt the pain not because of where I was. I felt the pain because of where I knew I was heading, because I was able to reflect on my father's suicide. And what I was doing at 23 years old was pretty similar to how my father was living. My father was a ladies' man, a party boy, center of attention, life of the party, into drugs, into partying. I don't know his extent, like how involved he was in drugs, but he was partying 100%. And here I was, 23, getting attention from guys, attention from girls, drinking, smoking, taking drugs. And I was like, oh my God, am I heading in the same direction? And of course, when you experience suicide, not only does it hurt your life as a child, but you see everyone's life that it impacts and for how long it impacts their lives. And I just knew in that moment, like, because I had experienced years and years of pain, I just couldn't continue down the same path. So that awareness of where I was heading, plus the pain, I was able to leverage that pain to start making changes to my life. But if you don't feel pain enough, you won't change. I mean, there's a story about a dog that's lying on a porch on an elderly couple's front porch of their house. Have you heard this before?
I don't think so.
And it's in the country, and this lady walks past. And as this lady walks past, she sees this old couple sitting there, and the dog's lying between them, and the dog is moaning. Oh, oh, oh. And she's like, what is wrong with that dog? Anyway, she comes back again the next day, walks past the house, dog's moaning. Next day, dog's moaning. Eventually, she's like, I can't take the dog moaning. And she approaches them. She says, why is your dog moaning? And they say, oh, because he likes to sit between us, but he's lying on a nail. And she's like, well, why doesn't he just get off the nail? And she said, oh, because it's not sticking out enough. So it's not sticking out. There's not enough pain to move. There's only enough pain to moan. And a lot of people live like that. They will moan and complain. I just actually posted something on Instagram on the way here saying, if you want to be happy now, just stop moaning, bitching, ranting. Like that'll immediately will help you to change your life. But if there's not enough pain, you will just become addicted to your own misery. Because psychological basic needs for significance, certainty, variety, connection, love, these can all be met in complaining and staying stuck. Because if you complain about your life, you get certainty, you keep repeating what you're saying, you're certain about how it makes you feel. You get variety, maybe in conversations or emotional disruptions or eruptions. You get significance because you can complain about your life. People go, oh, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. And in those connections, in those conversations, you get connection as well. So anyway, that's why pain, awareness and pain.
What specific type of pain was driving you in that moment to change, though? Was it the pain of you seeing your father in yourself, or was it the perceived pain of what could happen? What specifically was it? And then what did you do in that moment?
First of all, it was both of those. But it was more about, I'm not saying everyone else is like this, but I grew up very introspective, reflective, an observer of life, observing in school the bullied and the bullies, trying to understand everything. And I understood from a very young age that I was destined for something great. And I knew that if I continued to go down the same path and make the same decisions, I was never going to achieve that. And one, I would probably end up like my father. But two, like I just mentioned, and like you mentioned, I just wouldn't be able to make the changes that I knew I could make. So I knew that who I wanted to become wasn't in alignment with how I was showing up. And now, years later, as a coach, I say to people, is what you're saying and what you're doing in the same direction? Does the tongue in your mouth and the tongue in your shoe go in the same direction? Or are your words and your actions like an upside down rocket trying to go to space? It makes absolutely no sense. And my actions were upside down. I needed to turn the rocket around and say, oh, if I want to go there, that's what I need to do. So I literally remember being 23 years old and saying, I got it wrong. But I got to the UK on my own. So if I can figure out decision by decision how to get life wrong, I can figure out how to get it right. I just need to do different things. And that's where I became obsessed about personal development. So in short, the answer was, for over a decade or more, before that happened, I just knew I'm not here to play average, to be small, or to fit in. And I knew that I was not going on that path. I knew where I wanted to go. I knew where I wanted to travel to in my life since I was very, very young. But I was going on a different highway in a different direction. And the only way for me to fix my life is I needed to put the foot on the brake, stop, even the handbrake, turn the car around, and go in a new direction. And at 23 years old, I just started to figure out day by day, moment by moment, decision by decision, what is that direction?
Would you say that was the moment that it was the death of seeking external validation and you realized that that happiness had to come from within?
I wish I could say it was, but life is about layers and levels. It was the first moment of transformation in ego deaths and moving away from external validation. But old habits die hard. And, it takes a while to rewrite old programs, and programs that maybe weren't even given to us, like our parents, our role models, or our lack of role models, our bad role models. So it definitely was the start. I knew that I couldn't live my life for what might look successful because I felt empty. I had to align my life to what felt like successful. And immediately I went back to the UK and I was like, what makes me feel successful? Not look it. And I looked back over the pattern of my life and it was always sport. So at the time, I just was like, right, I have to get a job in sport. Got a job in a gym, became a personal trainer. And I started to realize that through applying a psychological skills to my life, that I could do way more than help people physically. I could help them mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and that's how I got into coaching. But yeah, it was the first. I would say the last layer of the onion, and this really was the last, was my collision with a car. When I was faced with my own death, told that I died, and not being able to walk with broken legs for many months, that was the final decision. Like, I'm never going to live my life for any approval whatsoever. And I just went crazy. I freed myself from more suffering, from more mediocrity, from all attachment, from all dependency of the opinions of other people's for validation on the outside. I got divorced, moved to set up my company in Dubai, moved to Thailand, had a daughter, tattooed my face. I just went crazy. And it's the best decision I ever made.
So possibly nearly dying on your 1,000-kilometer charity ride for that cancer charity was almost the best thing that happened to you in a way.
It was, 100%. I'm getting emotional now. I say this often, but you hold space so well that you've just really made me feel feel that moment, and I feel very grateful because many people won't understand it. How can getting hit head on by a drunk driver in a hit and run collision, left for dead on the side of the road, how can that be the best thing that ever happened to you? It was. Because it was like a mirror being held up to my face of the truth. And the truth is that you are not here for a long time. Never again will I say one day, oh, I'll keep doing A, B, C so that one day I can have X, Y, Z. It's like, no, whatever X, Y, Z is, I'm going to make it happen right now. I'm going to do whatever I want. Because whether you like me or not, whether you approve or not, you're going to die and I'm going to die. So I'm going to live. You do what you want. But I'm very grateful for that not accident. I'm grateful for that collision because that collision woke me up and it made me more powerful than I've ever been as a human being, as a father, as a leader, as a coach. Because it made me realize that the only thing that really, really, really matters is now, now, and now. Nothing else matters.
The power of now. It never fails to bring us back to what's very important. And just to describe to the listeners, was that something that you felt wash over you the moment that you regained consciousness? Or did it take a little bit of a while for that to set in when you realised, hold on, I might be broken in many places, but I'm alive. I'm here. What is life from now on?
I think, first of all, I just want to acknowledge you for your questions. Your questions are very unique and very amazing.
Thank you.
You've clearly thought very hard or maybe long about what you wanted to ask. Or I don't know, maybe it just came to you naturally, but I really love your questions. And no, it didn't happen just like that. What happened immediately after I have post-traumatic amnesia. So even though I was talking the entire time, I don't remember the collision to this day, almost 6 years later. I don't remember the first 2 weeks. About day 10, day 11 is my first memory, being in intensive care and being told what happened. And immediately I knew this happened for me. I knew it. Like there was just not one part of me that felt like, why this happened to me? And it wasn't that I was going, oh, I'm going to really reframe this. Like, I don't know how to explain it. I just felt like this happened for me. But one of the things I teach in controlling your mind and your mindset is to always focus on what is in your control. So I had my traveling taken away from me, my speaking on stages, my coaching, my fitness, everything that made up my identity was taken away. So I used my own coaching tool of what can I focus on that's in my control. And my control was if I can't do physical work, if I can't travel, if I can't do anything physical, I can work on my spirit. I can work on my mindset. So I went deep into spiritual practices, meditation, reflection, living in silence, going to live with Shaolin warrior monks, doing up to 200 hours, an apprenticeship in plant medicines, eventually ordaining as a Buddhist monk. And all of these moments of silence and these hours and hours and hours of reflection kept bringing me to more and more clarity of how this was the greatest thing that ever happened to me, because reflection guides you to the truth. So the more you reflect, i.e. meditate or be still and silent, the more you get access to the truth of what happened, truth of who you are, truth of what your life means, truth of your purpose, etc. And the more I reflect on it more and more, still today, the more I reflect, the more I realize even more that this is the best thing that ever happened to me. But I didn't feel that in the beginning. I just knew this happened for me. And I had to figure out what that would look like. I just knew that my recovery wasn't going to be about me. Even just the moment that we just shared where I got emotional, that's going to hit some people. And that's just more evidence of it. My accident and my recovery was not about me. It was about other people. It was about how many people I could help And that's why I knew when I woke up from the accident, I knew, oh my gosh, if I want to help people not suffer like my father, or people that were like, I was a DJ, successful but empty and broken, if I want to help people like that, the people that have been through physical trauma, I don't have permission to help them. But now I do. Because I've been all fucked up in many ways, excuse my language. Like, I have been messed up in so many ways. I've got titanium rods, screws, bolts, stitches. Like, I can help anyone that's been through physical trauma. And I was just like, thank you, God. Thank you for this gift. Because now I can make even more of an impact, which is the whole reason why I'm here. And the doctor said to me, I don't know how you survived that. I know exactly why I survived. And it's to share that story with people, which is in the book that I gave you.
I can't wait to read it. I think what you've touched on there, this perception of all of this suffering is a gift. And one of my favourite books is The Obstacle is the Way.
Ryan Holiday.
So through the obstacle, you find your way. I also feel the same a lot when I'm speaking with potential clients or just people that I'm connecting with. They talk about their suffering and I'm like, tick, I've got that one, tick. I know I can relate to that. But as you say, it allows that connection, that vulnerability where you're sharing suffering in a way, or past suffering is a connection. And you can say, take my hand, let's go together, I'll show you the way. So that empowered you to make some really big changes to your life, to the point where, as you say, after that accident, you decided to separate, to divorce, and then to move across the world. Did it feel like it was this urgency after knowing deep down that you weren't satisfied? Or did you start to see your life through a different lens afterwards? Maybe you broke free from just the norm that you were previously in.
To go back to what I shared before, that the accidental collision made me see the truth of how short our time on earth is in this physical body. It made me change the way I look at things. And because I changed the way that I was looking at things, a lot of the things that I was looking at needed to change. Because I realized that actually I thought this was success, but it wasn't. I thought this was happiness, but it wasn't. I thought this was where I wanted to live, but it wasn't. And like, for example, one example of how I just looked at things differently and how that then it changing the way I looked at it meant that had to change. It was because, like I discussed before, I moved to the UK to give myself a better life. 20 years later, I was still there. I was like, I'd already created a better life for myself like 10 years ago. What am I still doing living in the rain? But it was the accident that made me realize that I just became English. Never once questioning the most simple of questions. Why do you live in the UK? And the accident just made me ask that question. Why am I living in the UK? And I was like, I don't know. I hate it here. The people are grumpy, sky is grey, weather is cold. I hate grumpy people, grey skies and cold weather. I was like, I can't live here anymore. And I told my partner, like, I need to move to Dubai. Let's do long distance relationship. And as soon as we tried it, it just broke down immediately, as you would probably expect. But yeah, I just looked at life differently. And I was living in a 5-bedroom house, beautiful house, like converted barn. We had a hot tub. We had professional tennis table. I had a gorgeous garden in a village, like, typical rich village. And everyone's like, oh, good morning, with their Barber jackets. And I had a brand new Mercedes GLB out of the box. And I was like, this is someone else's life. I've literally built someone else's life, but it's not mine.
I could not see you transported back into that life right now.
I was just the stereotypical, you know who I was? I was who my clients wanted to be.
Wow.
That's who I was.
External validation still?
Not validation. I had thought that because they want that, that should be my goal too. It's like, oh, everyone wants the nice house, the pretty wife, the car. Oh, I've got all of that. Okay, it was great for marketing. I did very well as a coach for many, many years. But I knew deep down that I wanted to live with flip-flops in the sun. Like, I can go on and talk about this forever, but like now I live in Thailand. Okay, I live in a beautiful home for less than what it would cost me in the UK. I wear shorts and flip-flops every day. If I want to go for a drive or one of my motorbikes, I don't even have to put a t-shirt on because it's just how it is where I live. Thai people are just crazy friendly. Like, you don't need to know them and they're just bowing to you. You bow to each other. It's like, who can bow the lowest? You know? It's like, no, you go, no, you go, no, you go. And everyone's just so happy. And, you know, I was a jester growing up. Like, my parents and my auntie and my family would just be laughing all the time because I was so silly. And I lost that to fit in to the culture of the UK.
I have to ask about this, being a jester. Do you think that growing up with so much pain is the reason why you chose to make so much fun out of life where you could?
That's a great question, and it would be for a lot of people. I think it is a mixture between I had to create joy where I was, but also having worked deeply on myself for the last 20 years and finding myself in this self-work, I can go back and see that that's my truest nature. Like, one of my main archetypes is I'm a lover, a protector, I'm a warrior, and I'm definitely a jester. And as I've healed myself and removed myself from everything that I'm not, I've created a lot of space for me to be me. Mm-hmm. So now I just am supercilious again. My smile has come back more than it's ever come back before. Sometimes I find myself just laughing hysterically on a coaching session. And I'm like, I did not do that for like 10 years because I thought I had to be a certain way to fit into UK culture. And in Thailand, no one cares who, like, the only thing people care about, at least in Phuket, Thailand, different in Bangkok, which is a big city, the only thing people care about is one thing, and that's you're happy. Mm. You can have tattooed eyeballs, you can wear a pink flamingo, you can do whatever you want. No one cares. Just do you, man. And I just love that environment. And I love bringing people to that environment to inspire them to be themselves. But yeah.
I adore that. I found that's also my natural default, joking, laughing a lot of the time. And sometimes when there's people in your life that can lower your vibrational frequency, maybe you feel like you have to tiptoe around them, maybe you have to adapt yourself because you feel like it would cause a volatile environment. That's something where I've noticed I've lost myself a little bit, and maybe sometimes I can stop being as funny or as joyful and laughing as much. And I think that's a very important sign that I've figured out for myself, that maybe those people aren't quite what's right for me, or perhaps it's a challenging circumstance whilst I'm sharing an experience with said person. And you've also spoken about in the past how you've had to go through a separation with the mother of your daughter. You've had to learn how to co-parent. And that's really changed the way that you then perceive how you show up, because it's a challenging decision to have to make, but you know that it has brought a better version of you for your daughter. How did you go through that? There's going to be a lot of parents listening to this that will perhaps be feeling the same thing.
It's been one of the most difficult things, probably the most difficult thing in my life. Actually, not probably, it's been the most difficult thing in my life. More difficult than, obviously I was a child, but dealing with the suicide of my father, dealing with my kind of breakdown, not really a breakdown, but hitting rock bottom at 23. The collision with a car is definitely the most difficult thing.
Why?
because I love my daughter so much. I just love her so much. But two Gandhi quotes, Mahatma Gandhi. Be the change you want to see in the world, and my life is my message. Those are two of many quotes that have inspired me in my actions in my life. And unfortunately, I was in a relationship with a mother that just went sour very quickly. And because I had this mentality of after the accident that I'm not wasting time, I'm not procrastinating, I'm not delaying. I just met her, and I opened a cafe when I got to Thailand, which is a big disaster. But I had the most massive launch party, and I was like, invite everyone and your friends. And anyway, she was there. We sat next to each other. We just hit it off like immediately. A few weeks later, I told the manager of my cafe, like, oh, I think I've met a girl. And she sent me a photo from the launch party circling her face, like, it's this girl, isn't it? And I was like, yeah, how do you know? She's like, it was just very clear that you guys hit it off. And that's how it was in the beginning. It was just like, oh my God, this is amazing, amazing, amazing. And I was like, all my life, I wanted to be a father. And literally like what felt like 2 months after us being together, my partner at the time brought her, she had 2 sons. She brought them to me. And I remember I didn't have a father really growing up. And they came to visit me at my house. And the way I was with them, and they don't have a father, their father's absent. He was in prison for a while. She was like, oh my God, 1, you've had this accident that's changed your life. 2, you're a very good guy. 3, you've told me you've always wanted a child. And 4, I'm in tears watching you with my 2 boys. Like, it would be a gift to give you a child. And she's just like, just make me one promise that regardless, we're still new in our relationship, regardless of whatever happens, you will take care of me and your daughter or son. And I was like, absolutely, absolutely. I want a kid. And then just a year afterwards, I guess, after pregnancy and, the first few months of birth and the honeymoon stage wore off, I just started to see that she would complain about her staff, her family, this. And I don't want to speak badly of her because she's the mother of my child. But when I've dedicated my entire life to inspiring people to never settle, how was I settling every day? I just couldn't do it. I could not be in an environment that was low vibration. I couldn't be around conversations of gossip. I couldn't be around someone that was, I was barely even drinking alcohol anymore at the time. Now I don't drink alcohol, but I don't want to go into too much detail, but I just knew that if I stay in this relationship, 1, I'm a hypocrite. I'm a liar. Like, I'm a liar to everyone I've ever spoken to. To say, oh, just compromise, just settle, just put up with your partner, put up with your job, put up with your life, put up with your health. I was like, I've been speaking for 16, 17 years at the time about not compromising, not settling, never quitting. And I was like, I can't do that. But secondly, it was destroying me spiritually. And thirdly, if I could go back to my own childhood and someone came to me and said, would you like to see your parents like this? Or would you like them to be separated and be happy? Even as a 10-year-old, I would have said, please separate them, please. So the third reason why I knew I had to leave was I will never, ever, I just love her so much. You got me good, Millie. You got me good. I will never, ever be an example to my daughter and make her believe that it's okay to not be happy in your life. I will never let her think that it's okay to not trust yourself, to not take risks, and to not demand and command what it is that you believe you can be, do, and have. My life is my message. Be the change you want to see. If I want my daughter to live an uncompromised life in her highest values, following her greatest passions, living out her deepest purpose, I have to be that example. So I left for my daughter. But it was difficult. It was very, very difficult. And I live 10 minutes away from her, so it's not like I'm around the world. I'm 10 minutes away.
I think it's incredibly inspiring. It reminds me of a moment when I was younger. My parents had a very volatile relationship. My mum was mentally ill. That's why she committed suicide. And her and my father were separated, yet living in the same home. It was very, very toxic. And I remember at 10 years old saying to my dad, we have another house that you're renting out. Why don't you just leave and go into that home? Like, why don't you leave? And I know that you're both not happy. Why don't you separate? And he said, I could never leave you in danger, so I will suffer and stay here and look after you.
Ooh.
And it sticks with me forever. Because also, I knew that my father wanted what was best, but that he had to go through that pain to make sure that we were protected. And as she grows up, she will see that, and she'll not have to suffer a volatile home environment. So I think for, quite honestly, any parent listening to this that knows that their child will grow up thinking back to what was home life like. How did it feel? Was it a sanctuary? Was it safe? Was it, I hated finishing school to go home because I was afraid of home. And that is something where we don't realize that our actions as adults and the relationships that we keep have such a significant impact on the next generation unless we're very careful. So I think that's such an incredibly inspiring story for all parents listening.
Well, I want to say, massive respect to your father. We chose different things, but both were based on what's going to be best for our children. It was safer for him to be around, but for us, it was just negative energy. It was better for me to leave, but both were for your children. And I believe that. I don't believe that your life should revolve around your children, because then if you don't have a kid, all of a sudden you don't have an identity. But your number one priority in all your decisions should be your children. If you're a parent, 100%. That should be the number one thing that affects all of your decisions in your life. And it certainly does for me anyway. I don't want to project myself on other people, but that's what I believe. And it was just, it was very difficult. But now, it's taken 6 months, 6, 7, 8 months. And there's still I have a new partner, a girlfriend, and, still they know each other only through, obviously, my ex meeting my partner through me. They don't know each other outside of that. But every now and again, a little thing will pop up, but we're co-parenting now. And now, it took 6 months, Millie, of crying and tears and fighting and I'll just say it, at one point when she found out that I had a girlfriend, we ended up in a physical fight where I had to push myself away from her and scream in the street, leave me alone, leave me alone. And she was attacking me, and I ended up kicking her to get in my car because she wouldn't let me get in my car. Ended up at the police station, and she is not a bad person. Let me be very clear. She was just hurt because I had chosen to leave her, and she was already not in a good place. But I could not fix her. She had to fix herself. So it's been, the nights I have cried, is crazy. But now finally we're in a good place. My ex can even message my partner, Nat, and be I need something. Can you ask JP to check his phone? Oh man, I feel emotional again. Like it's, with great risk comes great reward.
Mm-hmm.
And now I have a very beautiful life. And my daughter, I say this all the time, she's the happiest girl in the world because she has a mum that really loves her. They live in a very beautiful villa that I provide for them. She goes to a good school. She has a nanny that takes care of her. And then when she's not with her mum, she's with her dad. But because her dad is not with her mum, every single second with her father is high vibration. So me and her are like best friends because she doesn't know a bad side of me. She only sees me at my very highest potential, at my highest vibration. And I've responsibly created the space and made the decisions to make that happen. But I'm consciously always thinking, I need to be my best self for her. I need to be my best self for her. I need to be my best self for her all the time. So she has a way better life. Whereas when we were together, I'll never forget. And I hope that if you're a parent listening to this, I hope that you never do this. My ex and myself had a fight in front of my daughter, and it broke my heart because I saw my daughter just shouting at each other, not even like screaming or swearing, just raising our voices. And I just saw her sitting on the bed, and she was starting to like stick her finger down her throat, like just like doing this with her hand, like not knowing what to do, and just watching us like this. And I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And it was watching her on the bed whilst we were fighting and seeing her like not knowing what to do with herself. It's that day I left. I walked out. It had been coming for months. We broke up like 5 times. I was like, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. But I kept going back for my daughter. And then eventually I was like, I saw my daughter and I was like, I'm not letting her ever see that again. And she's never seen it again. So it was very uncomfortable, but I'm very, very proud of myself. Extremely proud of myself, because since that day, about 6 months ago, my daughter has never, ever seen me in a bad mood, aggressive, not having time for her, or raising my voice, ever, not for a second. And that's what matters to me. I would rather lose my relationship and have my daughter have that life than have her have to accept that just so I can stay in a relationship and share the same roof with her.
I could not agree more. And the cost of not settling might be going through goodness knows how much pain, or you will have to keep running through pain and you don't even know how long you're going to have to suffer for until you get through to the other side. But it will be a better life because you didn't decide to stay in the same position, and she will be a very, very happy girl. And if she ever listens to this podcast, she'll know how much you did for her and how much pain you had to go through to get to that point, which is really beautiful. And it goes to show that extent of love. You talk about heart mastery. What does that mean?
It means to have spiritual fitness as opposed to physical or mental fitness, mental resilience, or having a strong physical body. Heart mastery is about having faith, having resilience, and having purpose. I started my coaching career 20 years ago in fitness, and I taught people how to master your physical self. And then I became very successful as a personal trainer very quickly. I went from starting with nothing and just standing in the gym, just hey, just trying to get clients, to 3 years later, oversubscribed, charging 400 times more than the average personal trainer. I had a book launch. I'd worked with Facebook, Chevrolet, Duracell, James Cracknell, Olympic gold medalist, Sam Claflin, A-list Hollywood actor. Like, I was just incredible as a personal trainer. And here's why. Because I understood very early on that mastering your life is not about physical, it's about mental. Because where the mind goes, the body follows. And, people around me in the gym were like teaching macros and split routine workouts and teaching their clients about fast twitch, slow twitch, muscle fibers. And I was like, they don't care, bro. Like 90% of them don't care. They just think that losing fat or putting on muscle or both will make them feel good. And that's why they're paying you, because they want to feel good. So I would take my clients straight to feeling good. And the bonus would just be fitness, health, mobility, strength, etc. So I went straight into psychology. So I realized, okay, it's actually life mastery is not physical mastery, it's mental mastery. And then I built a career on that, mind and body. I wrote books on that, mind and body. And then when I got to 31, I realized that I had mastered my body and my mind. I was a professional athlete already. I was a professional Muay Thai fighter, Thai boxing. I was getting into endurance sports. I had done well in business, etc. But I still felt like something was missing. And then I made the connection to my clients. And it was that when I got my life wrong at 23, I made connection with my father. What was the same? And now when I felt like I was successful but something was missing, I looked at my clients, they were successful, there was something missing. And I looked at what's the theme, or what are the themes? And it was faith, it was purpose, it was aligning your life to your highest values, it was spiritual work. It wasn't mental or psychological skills for winning in business, or psychological skills for transforming your body, and it wasn't physical transformation. It was, how do you feel on the inside in the first hour of your day and the last hour of your day? How do you feel about yourself? How do you think about yourself when you're thinking about yourself by yourself? So I started to get into spirituality at 30, and I started studying Buddhism. I started studying spiritual teachers, Dr. Wayne Dyer. Started studying just scripts and things like that, and even religion. I grew up Christian, but I went back and studied the Bible a little bit, studied Islam a little bit, Taoism, and then I realized that actually everything about life is about knowing thyself, and in knowing yourself, knowing what your greatest gift is and giving that gift to the world. That's what life is about. It's like, who are you? What are you really good at, /love, /passionate about, /care about, and give that to the world. That's for everyone. If you just figure that out, who you really are, by removing all of the layers of who you think you're not, what do you really love? Or what do you really value? And then just give that to the world. So now I went on a whole different level of coaching. I went from teaching psychological skills for high performance and for getting your body and your mind right and your nutrition right, to helping people figure out their purpose, helping them align their life, their business, their relationships to their highest values so they have less suffering, more joy, inner peace, and fulfillment, helping people clarify their purpose and live in that purpose every day through non-negotiable habits, through showing up for others, through being in the service of people. And that's where I coined the term, although I did see someone else has now mentioned it online, but I coined it spiritual fitness. I started in fitness. My background was in fitness, but now I help people build spiritual fitness. And when you have faith, when you have values, knowing what you stand for and don't, when you have resilience and you have purpose, you become very, very, very powerful. Because in anything that you experience in your life, what keeps you going and gets you up when you're down is your why. And spiritual fitness is all about your why. What pushes people to achieve the impossible is spiritual fitness and your why. What got Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi, Mother Teresa to achieve what they achieved was spiritual fitness. Their why. What do they stand for? What do they not stand for? What do they value? What's important to them? What do they care about? What are they passionate about? That's what life is about. And then I just became obsessed about that. And now I have a community called Spiritual Gym, which is an online coaching community where we meet every week. I teach spiritual fitness to my clients. I have a 7 steps path for figuring out your spiritual fitness and living in spiritual fitness. I wrote a book called Spiritual Fitness. So that's what heart mastery is. It's strengthening your spirit so that you live in your purpose. You have extraordinary resilience and you live with faith, deep, deep inner faith that everything that's happening to you is happening for you because it's all part of your purpose.
I know that I personally agree with this, but I didn't previously because you could have compared me to maybe an entrepreneur in a big city, living in the rat race, pushing for financial success, and to look as if I've achieved a certain amount in my life to seek external validation of what success is deemed to be. And this is my question, which is, you must have had some clients that come to you deep into this rat race, and they might find you interesting. You've got tattoos everywhere. You don't necessarily fit the norm in terms of appearance, but you've got an incredible track record. And when they come to you and you tell them that they need to find their why, even though they might think, well, my why is to be a good finance director or something along those lines, how much work needs to be done to get them to understand spiritual fitness? And where do you begin?
Well, first of all, this happens a lot. And actually, some clients have come to me over the years that they come to me because they want to achieve their goals. But long story made very short, I'll just summarize it for this conversation. Through the work that I do, I will maybe help them realize that actually what they thought they want isn't what they want. So when they finish their 3 months or their 6 months or their 12 months, they're like, no, I'm good. Because they don't want to give themselves permission to actually do what it is that they really want to do, to align their life to their values, to fulfill their purpose. They'd rather just keep being busy and being successful because it's more comfortable. Mm-hmm. It's courageous work. Like doing spiritual work and aligning your life to your greatest purpose, your greatest potential, becoming the most actualized version of yourself, that's very courageous work because you need to let go of everything that you thought you were. And that's like very difficult to do. But also, you need to be willing to move beyond everyone else's opinion and expectations of you. And some people just don't have what it takes, or they're just not ready. But for the people that I do help, and I've created a framework for conversations like this. And it's the same with every single client. It's imagine that you are climbing a mountain. The mountain is a great metaphor for life. And in this case, it is a metaphor for getting to your greatest potential. And the summit, your greatest potential, is when you live 100% in your heart. Everything you speak, everything you think, everything you see is from the heart. You see the world from a place of love. You think of yourself as love. You think of the world as love. Like that is your greatest potential, your most actualized self, where you just don't live in lack, scarcity, fear. You just live in love and abundance and service, etc. How do we get to that mountain? It's one, you've got to know what your values are, what you stand for, what you don't, because these are the rules for your happiness. And if you don't know what the rules for your happiness are, you're playing to other people's rules and you'll never be happy. You might be successful, but you won't be happy. Number two is once you know what your values are, inside those values, you've got to have something that is a vision for your life. Like I said, your job is to figure out who you are and then give that person to the world. So the next thing is your vision. It's how do you want it all to end? What do you want the dash between your birthday and your death date to stand for? It's if you could change one thing in the world, what would that be? What's the one thing you've always been passionate about in your life? Except there's many different questions, but people can chat GPT that and just say, how do I figure out my vision, right? It's just too easy to do today. Do the Ikigai, Japanese exercise. There's so many different ways to figure that out. But once you know your values, you can say, okay, these are the rules for my happiness and fulfillment so I can have more joy in my everyday life. Now, what do I do with that? I work towards a vision. So you figure out, okay, what's the vision for my life? Then once you know the vision, or at least you clarify it, and you have a clear vision that you can always change later as many times as you want, then you figure out the vehicle. And the vehicle is the mission. The vehicle is the job, and the vehicle can be changed as many times as you want. I have changed the vehicle so many times, and I'm sure you have too. I have been a boot camp instructor. I've been a abs fitness class teacher. I was a spin instructor. I was a life coach. I spoke on multi-speaker stages, like selling stuff from stage. I couldn't think of anything worse. Oh my gosh. And I just tried to do these things until you realize that something serves you until it doesn't. And you can figure out the mission, and you can just stay in that as long as it serves you until it no longer serves you anymore. Then go do something else. Move to another country. Pitch yourself in a different way. Have a different product. Have a different service. Dress differently. Tattoo your eyes. Whatever. But the mission is, how am I showing up every day towards my vision in my values? That's what the mission is. My current mission is coach, speaker, athlete. Those are my 3 vehicles. If it's not in those 3 vehicles, I'm not interested, because then it's taking me out of my values and away from my vision. Now you know the path, which is from values to vision inside your mission. Now you've got to have the power, personal power for that path, and that's what is your purpose, your why. Why do you care so much? Why do you want to change your life? Why do you want this for your family, etc., etc.? And you can go 5 whys deep and say, why do you want that? 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 Why do you care about this so much? But it's having a very strong, powerful why. And of course, I have questions to help people clarify this. But once you have those 4 foundational pillars, you know who you are. You know what you value, what you want to create, what you want to do, and why you want to do it. Those are the 4 foundational pillars of who we are as a human being. Once you have that, then you can set goals. But you should not set goals until you know those 4 things, because otherwise your goals are just something that you read online, or it's something that someone else told you could do, or it's something that you got from another person that you relate to and you think, oh, they do that, so maybe can do that. It's not really your goals. And the easy way for you to figure out if this goal is yours is look, does it align with my values, vision, mission, and purpose? If it does, great. That's a goal for you. It's actually a goal that's taken you towards your potential. And then once you figure out your goals, it's create daily non-negotiable habits. You are your habits, simply put. Like what you do every day, I'll give you 1 day off, but what you do 6 days out of 7 is who you become. So it's reverse engineer the goals from the 4 pillars and reverse engineer the daily non-negotiables from your goals. Who do I need to be every day? Like ingredients going into a mixing bowl to get a result, like a cake or a lasagna or whatever. You put the ingredients in because you know these ingredients get this result. So reverse engineer from your goals. If you want to have this amount of money or this amount of happiness or this amount of joy, this amount of success, what are the ingredients you need to put into your life every single day? And those are the 6 steps of spiritual fitness: values, vision, mission, purpose, reverse engineered goals, and daily non-negotiable habits, what I call sacred rituals or commandments. And then the 7th step of spiritual fitness is to question all of that.
Of course it is.
It is.
That's fascinating, because you've basically said, someone will say, I want lasagna for dinner tonight, but they haven't thought about why they want lasagna for dinner. And is lasagna what they want for dinner or what they just saw their friend having for dinner? But you don't know that unless you know your goals, your values, and you know yourself. This is very deep work that I think is quite honestly essential for everyone to do, because you never will truly know yourself and how you want your life to look. You eventually get to the position when you know this about yourself, that you become unapologetic in everything that you do. You stop
Great
caring.
word.
You're very much so just focused on your mission, on your values. And I feel like perhaps that's how you've evolved to mark on your body all of these things that matter to you. What do your tattoos represent to you?
So much. To be honest, some of them are I just thought, oh, that looks cool. I'll get because I started tattooing myself when I was 30. And by the way, it's beautiful what you just showed. And absolutely. I have many, many frameworks that I've accumulated and created over 2 decades. But that's the number one framework. If anyone comes to work with me, I'm helping you do those 7 things. Question everything, and then everything, the other 6 steps. But I've been tattooing myself since I was like 13 years old. I'm deeply spiritual. I believe in past lives, and my spirit is going to leave my physical body. And our body is so temporary. So I've always been drawn to, I'm a creative, I'm an artist. I can't rap, I can't sing. You should see me do karaoke. I enjoy it, but I'm not very good. But I've always loved art and drawing, and it's the only actual subject in school that I did well at. So I started using my body as a canvas just to express myself, like a shaman or a person in a tribe, I guess, that's creating art in a tribe like they would do. And I've just always done that. It feels like I've done that my entire life, and piercing myself everywhere. And, it's funny because I just shared this in a mastermind that we're attending, the live event tomorrow. But I shared this online the other day, and I was talking about external validation, internal validation. Like when you live with internal validation, you just don't care what people think, i.e. tattoos. But when you live with external validation, you rarely want to be seen, i.e. tattoos. So it's like, you got to understand that you can be the observer without judging. You can go out into the world, into the gym, into a restaurant. You can actually see whether it's makeup, clothes, sunglasses, a cigarette. You can just observe people, and you can see who's so validated that they just don't care, like they're just owning their shit, and who's looking for validation. You can see it. You can read people's energy. But I've just got to a point where I just love this canvas that I've been given, and with all the broken bones and the scars and everything that I have, I just love my canvas. So I just get inspired to want to create more tattoos, and I don't think I'll ever stop. I hope I live till 100. That's the goal. Take me at 101, I'm happy. And hopefully by the time I'm 100, I have more tattoos than clear skin. But some of them mean absolutely nothing, but a lot of them mean a lot of things. Like this WYNM means what's your next move? Stop complaining. No one cares about what you did yesterday. No one cares that you were bankrupt. No one cares that you were left in a relationship. No one cares what happened. What people care about is what you do next. So that's one of my kind of sayings in my business. This is LWNR. That's to live with no regret, which is one of my sayings in my life. That's my girlfriend's name. Nat, that is LIU, love in unity. I believe the most powerful force in the world is to bring people together, and that's how we will get back to love. LOS means life of service. This is a mantra. It's on the way. Nothing is ever missing. If it's just not here, it's because it's not here yet. I did a deep plant medicine ceremony about 3 years ago with ayahuasca, one of many. And my father came to me, and said, my boy, you've exceeded everything that was expected of you. So I put that on my chest. Just a lot of them mean things. I've got a warrior on my calf on the outside too, because I told you one of my archetypes is a warrior. I'm very much a warrior energy. But I'm also very much a martial artist. I started doing martial arts when I was 7 years old. So I have a martial artist, a Thai boxer from a very famous movie called Ong Bak. He's on my calf. Also, I'll tell you one more because I've got loads of tattoos. We're not even halfway there. Or a third for that matter. But I saw this movie called, and forgive me if I've got the title wrong, maybe you know it, My Friend the Octopus, My Octopus Friend.
Yes. Oh my goodness, that was fascinating. One of the craziest things I've ever watched.
Wow. So anyway, if people don't know, it was on Netflix, and it was about this guy that's basically depressed, and he was a filmmaker, and he decides to just step away from his work, and he lives in Cape Town, South Africa, where I'm from, coincidentally. And he just says, you know what, I'm just going to become more present in my life and just live in the now. And he starts going diving, and he meets this octopus. And after a few days, he realized that he keeps seeing this octopus, and they become friends. And eventually, after the octopus being so scared, they end up like really becoming friends, and they swim together, and the octopus wraps itself around him. But then there's a few times so this guy has had suffering in his life. But because an octopus's life is much shorter, only a few months, I think, he's able to observe the whole octopus's life, or the octopus's whole life. And what he observes is when it gets attacked, by, I think it was a shark, I can't remember. And then it goes into the cave and, metaphor goes into the cave until it's healed itself and then comes back out and gives it another go. And then this happens and then it gets old and then the octopus dies. And the end message of this documentary, at least what I took from it, was that this guy was able to heal himself from knowing that we're all in this together and we're all doing our best in life and we're all suffering. And our only goal in life is to come together and help each other get through life. And it was so profound, like so powerful that I was like, one of the images was when an octopus curls up, it almost looks like a heart.
Oh, wow.
So I had a tattoo artist make me a heart-shaped octopus. So that's one of my tattoos. So it reminds me to always be in service to people that are suffering. Because I can go like, oh, look at my life now, it's amazing. But still to this day, I need to remind myself that, JP, if you don't go do a video today or do a post or something, like someone's suffering today and you're not helping them, like, remember, everyone's suffering. So do what you can, do the best you can today and to help people not suffer.
That's beautiful. And it just made me remember how emotional I got when I watched that movie. I remember crying over an octopus.
Oh my God, I cried so much.
Thank you for sharing. They're beautiful meanings. And I don't know if you can see on the back of my tricep.
Lust for life.
I got that done.
What's the picture?
It's a skeleton with a key attached to it.
Oh, awesome.
And the reason why, I got that done in November, shortly after I last heard you speak, because you mentioned the loss of your father and why everything that you do is in service and to get the most out of life. And that was such a penny drop moment for me. And I thought, why have I always had this incessant desire to help, this urge to do what I can to get the most out of life? And I thought, I've just got a lust for life. I want to get the most out of it.
Yeah.
And before I knew it, there was a skeleton and a key, which is I'm unlocking what I'm here for, which is to get the most out of life. And so I thank you for connecting those dots for me.
That's very powerful. And I'm glad that you stuck that on you so that you never forget it.
I won't.
And thank you so much for having me on this podcast. I have done many, many podcasts, and that was without a doubt the most beautiful podcast episode I have ever recorded, ever.
JP, thank you so much. Thank you. I've really enjoyed the conversation. And to anyone who's listening and wants to learn more about you, read your books, just get involved in the spiritual gym. Where can they find you?
My name in Google for my books, Amazon, and for social media, mostly Instagram. Okay. I like to share my life. Once again, my life is my message. So don't listen to what I say, watch my feet. Don't take my word for it. Observe my life. And I do my best to share my life on Instagram stories in a way that I can to reach people and inspire them to reach within themselves and to live their full potential. And anything else, there's so much, I've done talks all over the world. I was in a collision where I forgave the driver, and that story went viral when I forgave him in court. You can just type my name in Google because I've been around a long time. But yeah, for connecting with me, Instagram, and for my books, Amazon.
Well, I'll leave the description box full of all the links of where everyone can go and find you. But once again, thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
If you enjoyed that episode, then go and listen to episode number 24 with Alia, my best friend, all about the manifestation paradox, when trying too hard pushes everything away. It is going to absolutely change the way that you approach everything that you do in life, and it's going to attract a whole lot more positivity for you. It is a must listen.